The echoing footsteps behind me grow louder as I duck into the restricted section of the Central Archive. I am speaking from 2350, and what I'm about to show you should have been destroyed centuries ago. My hands are shaking as I transmit this, not from the cold recycled air that perpetually flows through these endless corridors, but from what I've just discovered hidden in the deepest vaults of our collective memory. The security drones above me patrol in erratic patterns tonight, their usual synchronized sweeps disrupted by some glitch in the monitoring system. I've been waiting 3 months for this malfunction. 3 months of watching, timing, learning their routes through these vast halls where our civilization's sanitized history lives under perpetual surveillance. The dim, flickering lights cast long shadows between the towering data columns, and I use every pool of darkness to stay invisible. You have to understand, in your time, you still had libraries, didn't you? Physical books you could hold, information you could access without permission codes or citizen ratings. Here, everything flows through the archive, and the archive decides what flows back out. Most citizens never question why certain searches return empty results, why entire decades seem to have no recorded events, why the official formation of New America reads like a peaceful transition when the scars on our landscape tell a very different story. But I'm a chief documentarian. My clearance lets me deeper than most, into sections where the air tastes metallic and the walls hum with the weight of suppressed data. Tonight, I followed a maintenance tunnel that shouldn't exist on any schematic, crawling through spaces barely wide enough for my shoulders, following cables that seemed to lead nowhere. The tunnel ended at a vault I'd never seen before, sealed with technology so old it predates our current security protocols. Inside, I found physical storage devices, actual hardware from your era, somehow preserved and hidden. And on one of them, encrypted with methods our systems can barely recognize, was something called the master key. Not just a password or access code, but a complete record of how New America really formed, how the restructuring actually happened, and most terrifyingly, who decided what you would never be allowed to know. The footsteps are getting closer. I can hear the software of inspection drones recalibrating their search patterns. But I've already copied everything to an untraceable partition, and I'm broadcasting it back to you through temporal channels they don't even know exist. Because what I found proves that the information scarcity we live with isn't an accident of progress, it's the foundation our entire society was built on. The master key shows me that someone in your time saw this coming and tried to warn the future. Now I'm warning the past. My hands are shaking as I tell you this. The master key wasn't just data, it was wrapped in something I haven't seen since childhood museum visits. Paper. Actual paper documents, yellowed and brittle, smelling like dust and forgotten libraries. When I touched them, they whispered against my fingertips, that soft rustling sound that doesn't exist in our digital world. The musty scent of decaying knowledge hit me so hard I had to step back, memories flooding into the last physical books before they were all converted or destroyed. I had to work fast. The vault's emergency lighting cast everything in amber, making the shadows dance as I photographed each page. Some were handwritten, can you imagine? Actual ink on paper, the words flowing in curves our styluses can't replicate. Others were printouts from your primitive computers, but they contained names, dates, meeting minutes from sessions that were never supposed to exist. The master key itself was stored on something you called a hard drive, this clunky metal box that somehow survived 3 centuries. I connected it to my portable interface, and that's when the real terror began. My screen started glitching, throwing error messages in languages our systems don't recognize. Lines of corrupted text scrolled past faster than I could read, but I caught fragments: Operation Silence Protocol, Information Rationing Implementation, Public Memory Management Initiative. Every few seconds, the display would freeze, showing me glimpses of organizational charts with names I recognized, not from history lessons, but from the monuments in our city centers. The founders we celebrate, the visionaries we're taught to revere, they weren't just architects of our society. They were architects of our ignorance. The paper crackled as I turned each page, and I realized someone had hidden this collection deliberately. Notes were scribbled in margins, connections drawn between documents with actual pencil marks. Someone in your time knew what was coming and tried to preserve proof. They understood that digital records could be altered, deleted, rewritten, but physical evidence, if hidden well enough, might survive. One document made my blood freeze. It was titled Transition Protocols, Managing Historical Narrative. Beneath it, in that strange handwritten script, someone had noted, "They will never know what they've lost if we control what they remember." The page was signed with initials I can't share, too dangerous, but the date stamp shows it was created just months before the restructuring officially began. The database errors kept cascading across my screen, but I kept copying everything. Each glitch revealed more fragments, budget allocations for memory management, personnel assignments for narrative compliance teams, technological specifications for systems designed to monitor and filter information flow. This wasn't just censorship, it was the systematic engineering of ignorance. The musty smell grew stronger as I worked deeper into the collection, and I realized why. These weren't just random documents someone had saved. They were specifically chosen to tell a complete story, arranged by someone who understood exactly what future generations would need to know. Hidden among the official papers were personal letters, diary entries, even photographs that showed meetings and handshakes between people who were never supposed to have met. My scanner was overheating from the data load, but I couldn't stop. Every page revealed another layer of the conspiracy, another piece of the puzzle showing how your free society was deliberately transformed into our managed one. They didn't just restrict information, they made us grateful for the restriction, convinced us it was protection, evolution, progress. The footsteps outside are getting louder now, accompanied by that mechanical whine of security scanners. But I've got it all. Every page, every file, every piece of evidence that proves our entire civilization is built on a lie. The master key isn't just about what happened during the restructuring, it's about what was planned before it even began. And the most terrifying part? The final document in the collection is addressed to future documentarians. Someone knew that eventually, someone like me would find this vault. They knew that the truth has a way of surviving, even when everything is designed to bury it. The paper whispers one last time as I close the collection, and I can almost hear the voices of those who tried to warn us, echoing across 3 centuries of manufactured silence. The distant hum of city life outside the archive feels different now, more mechanical, more controlled than I ever noticed before. It's the sound of 300 million people living lives they think they chose, but the documents spread before me prove otherwise. The heavy weight of old keys in my hand reminds me that some doors were meant to stay locked, and I've just opened the one they feared most. I'm holding the final document now, the one addressed to future documentarians. The paper is different, heavier, more expensive than anything we use in 2350. Dust motes dance in the sparse beams of light filtering through the archive's ancient ventilation system, and each speck seems to carry the weight of buried history. The handwriting is careful, deliberate, as if whoever wrote this knew they were crafting a message for eternity. To whoever finds this collection, it begins, know that you are reading the last free words written before the Great Silence. We have documented everything we could before they complete the transition. The restructuring isn't a response to crisis, it is the crisis, manufactured and deployed with surgical precision. My hands are shaking as I continue reading. The letter explains how your generation's social media platforms weren't just entertainment or communication tools, they were behavioral modification systems, testing grounds for something much larger. Every like, every share, every angry comment was data feeding into algorithms designed to map human psychology on a massive scale. They were learning how to make people want their own chains. The beauty of the system, the letter continues, is that each generation will believe they're more enlightened than the last. By 2350, citizens will look back at the early 21st century and feel grateful for how evolved society has become. They won't realize that evolution was engineered, that every step toward our managed paradise was planned decades in advance. I can hear voices in the corridor now, getting closer. The security scanners are definitely heading this way. But I keep reading because this letter is explaining everything, why we have harmony protocols instead of free speech, why we have wellness assignments instead of career choices, why we have community alignment instead of personal relationships. The writer knew about the information wars of the 2080s before they happened. They predicted the Great Simplification of 2156. They even described our modern archive system, calling it a library designed to forget. They understood that controlling the future meant controlling the past, and that the most effective censorship would feel like curation. The master key you've found, the letter explains, contains more than historical documents. Hidden within the binding are quantum storage crystals containing the complete communication networks of the resistance movement. Names, locations, plans, everything they'll need to know that people like you still exist. My scanner nearly drops from my trembling hands. This isn't just evidence of a historical conspiracy, it's proof that the conspiracy is ongoing. The resistance movement the letter mentions? They're still active. They're still fighting. And somehow, they knew that someone exactly like me would eventually find this vault. The mechanical whine outside is definitely security scanners now, their frequency matching the pitch that makes my teeth ache. I can smell the ozone they emit when they're running deep scans. They're not just looking for unauthorized personnel, they're looking for unauthorized information. But the letter has one final revelation that changes everything. Maya Torres, it says, using my name, daughter of Elena Torres, granddaughter of Marcus Torres, you are the fourth generation of your family to serve as chief documentarian. This position wasn't assigned to you by chance. Your great-grandfather helped hide this vault. Your family has been guardians of truth for over a century, waiting for the moment when someone would be ready to act on what they discovered. The dust motes in the light beam seem to swirl faster now, as if disturbed by the weight of this revelation. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my career, my purpose, it was all planned. But not by the authority. By people who understood that truth has its own gravity, its own way of finding the light. The voices are right outside now. I can hear them discussing thermal signatures and data anomalies. But I'm not afraid anymore. This letter, this vault, this entire moment, it's not the end of something. It's the beginning. The resistance isn't dead. It's been waiting. And now it's time to wake up. The broadcast console sits in the corner like a forgotten relic, its surface thick with dust that hasn't been disturbed in decades. But when I brush it away, the controls underneath gleam like they were installed yesterday. My hands shake as I power it up, not from fear, but from the electric realization of what I'm about to do. The resistance didn't just leave me evidence. They left me a weapon. The screen flickers to life with that familiar blue glow, and suddenly I understand why this vault was built here, in the deepest level of the archive. The signal boosters, the quantum transmitters, the hardline connections that bypass every filter and firewall the authority has built, this isn't just a hiding place. It's a broadcast station that can reach every screen, every device, every neural interface in New America simultaneously. My fingers fly across the keyboard, muscle memory taking over as I begin uploading everything. The master key protocols, the suppression algorithms, the real casualty numbers from the restructuring, the names of the disappeared, all of it streaming into a manifesto that will shatter the careful lies they've built our world on. Each keystroke feels like a small revolution, each uploaded file a crack in their perfect facade. The typing echoes in the small space, urgent and rhythmic, like a heartbeat that's finally found its proper tempo. I can smell my own sweat mixing with the metallic tang of old electronics warming up after years of silence. The air tastes different now, charged with possibility, heavy with the weight of truth finally breaking free. Outside, the security scanners have gone quiet. Either they've moved on, or they're preparing for something bigger. But I don't care anymore. The upload progress bar crawls forward, 60%, 70%, and with each percentage point, I feel lighter. For the first time in my life, I'm not just documenting history. I'm making it. The first hints of sunrise begin to creep through the high windows of the vault, painting everything in warm gold. The light catches the dust still floating in the air, turning each mote into a tiny star. It's beautiful in a way I never expected, this moment between the old world and whatever comes next. The authority built their power on controlling information, on making sure people like you in the early 21st century could never see what your choices would lead to. But you deserve to know. You deserve to understand that the path we're on, the increasing surveillance, the gradual erosion of privacy, the way information becomes a commodity controlled by fewer and fewer hands, it doesn't have to end the way it did for us. The master key isn't just about exposing what happened. It's about giving you the tools to choose differently. 95%. Almost there. The warm glow spreads further through the windows, and I can hear something new in the distance, not the mechanical whine of scanners, but voices. Human voices, growing louder, more excited. People are waking up. The broadcast is already reaching them, even before the upload completes. 100%. Done. I lean back in the chair and close my eyes, feeling the sunrise warm my face through the ancient glass. Somewhere above me, alarms are probably screaming. Somewhere in the authorities' pristine offices, people are scrambling to understand how their perfect system just became completely transparent. And somewhere in your time, maybe someone is reading these words and realizing they still have a choice. The resistance wasn't defeated. It was just waiting for the right moment, the right person, the right sunrise to begin again. And now, finally, the truth is free.